Well, hello. Kat Langman here, back with another episode of the Scale My Shopify Store podcast. And big deep sigh of relief. We're into December now, and no doubt all of you guys are probably feeling a little bit tired right about now, I imagine. I know most of our clients are feeling like that. It was a bit of a crazy busy time in November, getting all of the pieces of the puzzle in place for Black Friday and Christmas promotions as well, which are still in swing. And so, yeah, I know a lot of you guys probably feeling the same. We're all feeling it. It's been a bit of a huge month, or it was a huge month. Really, really exciting to see some record months posted in November. So that was very, very thrilling. And some interesting results coming in for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday promo, and really just seeing what was producing the best results and what really, really worked. And, perhaps I'll do a deep dive into that. Another episode. That's not actually what this episode is about, but really what I've been doing over the last week is to really look into the data, looking at the trends, looking at the changes that have been really taking place this year in terms of what's generating growth and results in e-commerce, particularly with the digital marketing, of course. But not just digital marketing, but growth strategy overall, and really what has changed this year so that we can look ahead, because we are heading into the end of the calendar year now, and so of course my mind starts to turn towards the next year, so that being 2024. I think if there was one word to sum up what 2023 has been like, it would probably be bruising. I think it's been a real bruiser of a year. I'm laughing. It's not half funny at all. I mean, it's been a pretty full-on year. I think that some of you have had good years. It's been an incredibly challenging year for many. And even though, it's my tendency to look for the good, look for the positives, look for the wins, because I've trained my mind to look at that first. It doesn't mean it's been easy, right? Like, it has been a really, really full-on year. And, I really want to be able to maximize the value of the year. Why go through such a tough, challenging year if you can't actually squeeze some good juice from all of those learnings, all of that experience, even if perhaps some of it was tough and challenging. All of that experience is so incredibly valuable, and we want to make use of that for the new year. So today, I really wanted to dive into that and share my thoughts and where my strategic planning is heading so far. But like I said, like, this year has been particularly challenging, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of points about that and about where I have seen a lot of the challenges. And I'm not talking, I mean, certainly from a mindset perspective and, personal well-being, I think that's been quite challenging for a lot of us, a lot of you. But, from a business perspective, really, when the COVID e-commerce boom demand started to taper off, we started to see a lot of changes. A few things were happening all together at the same time. Obviously, during COVID time, there was massive, rapid growth in terms of e-commerce sales growth. I think from memory, in that kind of 2-year period, we saw something like 10 years worth of growth in e-commerce retail sales revenue. It was massively quick. I liken that to ripping off a Band-Aid. It's quite a painful process to go through growth that rapid. And, as a result, two things have happened. I mean, even really established businesses have experienced tough times this year. During that boom time, a lot of the more established businesses that have been around for longer invested a lot. They invested a lot in things like stock and production and manufacturing. They invested in, fancy big new websites, in hiring, in premises like warehouses and all sorts of stuff. And, really taking on bigger cost over, overheads. And then, of course, when revenue and demand starts to taper off, that's quite scary. And, it becomes a lot more difficult to meet the cash flow requirements there. And at the same time, there's been increases in costs across the board. There's been increases in costs of production, massive increases in shipping, increases, and that's, to get stock in. Of course, shipping to post orders out, like those costs have gone up enormously. Power costs, I mean, across the board, right? It's been crunching the profit margins from both ends. The demand tapers off, a lot of people reach for discounts, and so the margins are slimmer there, and then costs are increasing, and a lot of businesses weren't putting their prices up probably quickly enough, and so there's constraints from that end as well. I definitely have also observed quite a few e-commerce brands who started during the early parts of the COVID boom, and kind of, I hate to say it, got lucky because that demand was just sort of baked in. Everybody had to order online, right? Whereas, I think perhaps businesses that have had a few years operation prior to COVID understood that it required a bit of work to actually do the marketing and get, generate the demand, the consumer demand, get people to the website, convert sales, new sales, repeat sales, all of that, So those who started their business during that COVID boom time, they've all had to learn how to do that. And there's the temptation. I know it's very, very easy to think, oh, maybe I'm just no good at this. Maybe nobody likes my products because, nobody's coming to buy. But of course, it actually just requires a little bit of marketing effort to generate that. So, how do you succeed in e-commerce, and particularly succeed in marketing, when this kind of dynamic is in play? And I guess not just production costs and shipping and operational costs, but even ad inventory costs have gone up significantly in the last couple of years. So, and app subscription costs as well. I mean, everybody's Shopify plan prices have gone up this year. And so how do you remain profitable? How do you remain able to grow or even exist profitably? But how do you manage to grow when this dynamic is in play? And, so we've got this dynamic where there's a change in consumer behavior, and we've got, the situation where it's harder to actually profit from your marketing due to the costs involved, the costs of your marketing, the costs of the products, all of that jazz, right? And so what I've observed time and time again, and look, this is not just this year, like my first business I started right before the GFC, the global financial crisis. And so I've seen this over and over again. During boom times, people will spend happily. They're much more confident to spend money on advertising and trying and testing new things out, versus when that demand sort of tapers off, there's this knee-jerk reaction to pull back and to really stop spending money on advertising, spending money on the marketing and advertising to get traffic to your website, and to perhaps rely instead on your existing email list and rely on your existing audience, whether that's on social media, potentially SEO. Probably not enough e-commerce businesses have put any effort into that. Certainly not during COVID when it seemed unnecessary. And here's the problem. So I've seen a few businesses do this from the start of this year, start of 2023. They started to see people weren't buying as quickly or as easily based off the same sorts of activities that perhaps they had in the past. And so they stopped spending money on any of that traffic generation or demand building advertising, right? And what's happened is that their audiences have completely burnt out. They've really exhausted and burnt out their list. So, if they've got an email list or a social media audience of the same people, and they're always sending out promotions to those same people, you hit a point where the list is not going to respond anymore. And that's what's happened to a lot of people this year. I definitely have noticed, and I would say it's probably hit harder in the kind of more affordable price bracket of products as well, because, you know, you've seen some big players enter the market like Temu, that, you know, they've got such deep pockets and probably such crappy cheap production. You know, their cost base is tiny, and so they can discount things a lot more than most businesses. And so, you know, the businesses who really haven't invested in building demand and building their audiences, you know, they've gone into Black Friday and their audience is exhausted. They don't want to buy anymore. So, you know, those are the instances where I've really seen things fail, versus the businesses that continued to, you know, keep working on building their audience, you know, building their warm audiences on socials, building their email list, building their SMS list, working on SEO, you know, really cultivating, you know, consistently cultivating, building their database and building their audience so that they always have somebody new to sell to, right? And it's not just about sending out salesy kind of messaging at all, because if you did that every single time you spoke to someone, they'd probably switch off pretty fast. And, you know, so I guess the other knee-jerk reaction that I see as well happen in conjunction with stopping spending is constantly discounting and expecting that, you know, every time you go out with, say, an email or a social post that says, hey, we've got 20% off, that is going to give people enough of a reason to buy. And it kind of just doesn't. Like, again, it just, unless you've got somebody who hasn't bought recently and they know they need to buy right now, you'd probably get those ones over the line. That's why you would always see a little bit of a spike in sales when you go out with a discount. But what I would say is a better way to run those kinds of sale promotions is by really thinking about how you might give people a reason to buy. A discount's not a reason to buy. That's a way to you know, get past any perceived risk or objection in the moment, or, you know, just to get somebody who's already decided to buy, just to get them over the line if they're still a little bit tentative or resistant. Whereas giving somebody a reason to buy is, you know, for example, in Christmas gifting time, you know, if you do have products that lend themselves to Christmas gifts, it's about, you know, really highlighting, you know, who your gifts are perfect for, making, you know, putting together different gift packs at different price points. Or for example, in January, we've got a couple of clients who sell products that are suitable for school kids, and they're going to be running back to school promotions. And so going back to school and getting organized and kitted up, ready to go back to school, that's a reason for people to buy. You know, sure, they might also want a discount, but if you just only go out to your database with, hey, we've got 25% off, that's not so inspiring, right? So really thinking about and making sure that, you know, when your sales dip, and they will, everybody in every single business has a sales cycle, and that's going to change over time. And when it tapers off, that is the time that you need to work harder at your marketing, and you definitely need to find ways to keep spending profitably, of course, in order to keep building your audience and acquiring new customers, so that you don't basically, you know, put your business into a slow moving death dive. we don't want that slow train wreck of a business because you're burning out your list and, you know, just discounting and driving margins down and down and down and down, right? So you know, really wanting to think through that for the new year. But you know, ways that you can keep that momentum going when things are quiet. If you know that things aren't going to really pick up with sales in the moment without a massive discount, you know, there are cheaper ways that you can keep building your audience and building your list and building, you know, working on increasing the consumer demand. And that, you know, we've got episodes and blogs about all of this kind of stuff that you can go and check out. I would be most definitely thinking about the content that you are sharing, making sure that it's super relevant and engaging for the moment. Think about that kind of content as edutainment. It's not salesy content, right? So, you know, telling the kind of stories visually as well as in words that's really going to resonate with your audience in that moment. Putting small amounts of money on that content on social media is so helpful. It's all about building engaged audiences. So post-engagement campaigns, video views campaigns, even reach campaigns to an extent. It's about, really attracting the right eyeballs and connecting with them in a pretty low-key way. It's not a you're not asking for the sale in that moment, because that's probably not the message that's going to resonate, right? And then also building your list. When things are a little bit leaner on the sales front, spend a bit of money to build your list. There's so many different ways that you can do it. You can do it using lead ads, giveaway competitions, collaborations with other brands. We did a super successful collaboration with several of our clients prior to Black Friday this year, and they all built their lists by adding an incredible number of emails to their lists. It was amazing. You can do it, you could do it at expos or markets. You could, traditional PR even. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you can build your list. But that's the sort of thing that you need to be focusing on in those leaner months, so that then when the sales cycle turns and the demand returns with your customer base and your audience, then, you have a bigger audience to sell to, right? You haven't just let it dwindle or die. I mean, lots of people do, unfortunately, let their email lists die when it's not a sale or a product launch. That's the worst thing you can do. Got to try and put your magazine editor hat on, even if you've never been a journalist. I've never been a journalist, but think about what kind of content you like to read or watch or consume. What captures your attention? What topics are super engaging for you? If you think about the kinds of products that you sell, how can you do things a little bit differently to your competition in that regard as well? A few of our clients do a really, really good job with that kind of content. And I would say You by Kate, the jewelry brand, is one really, really good example. They do a great job with their stories and their reels, as well as their other kind of posted content. But, they're fun and, they're really entertaining. So try and think about that. Approaching the year with that kind of a mindset and that kind of a strategic approach to your marketing, and you will most definitely do better. But I really want to talk more about the imperative to find more profitable ways to acquire new customers, as well as always having, strategies that will retain customers as well. So, always having strategies to acquire new customers, but doing so more profitably. So, really what we've noticed over this last year is what was working in 2022, 2021 with that sort of, your marketing, advertising, traffic generating strategies isn't enough anymore. Like, you used to be able to just put some attractive ads up and people would come and buy. I saw one beautiful brand, an interior product. I saw one beautiful brand whose products are divine. They're perfect for gifting. They are absolutely gorgeous. I love them. I know lots of people who do, but their ads are so damn boring. Excuse my French. They are so boring and not inspiring whatsoever. And, I'm only looking at them because, I know the brand and I went looking. But, if I didn't know them and I didn't go looking, they'd just blend into the background of the newsfeed and they just would not stand out at all. And none of us can get away with that sort of marketing anymore. We have to put a lot more effort into content creation, thinking really about that storytelling type content. That is actually going to stand out for starters and stop the scroll, but also the kind of content that is going to actually invite people to click. Because, if people keep scrolling by, then your ads are going to be super, super, super expensive. I would say, the people that I've worked with over the years and the people that I consult to sometimes as well, the ones who did the best out of the Black Friday promotion, they're the ones who really put the most effort into, first of all, having a good deal. They had to have the right kind of offers that were, people were going to respond well to. But secondly to that, it really was about getting some really good content and creative, both organically as well as paid ads. And they took the time to create a really good landing page on their website. And they backed it all up with the email and SMS as well. So they had taken the time to really grow that database and prime the pump there as well. So, but, aside from really working on optimizing your website and, really creating the best content and offers for the ads and the emails, optimizing the website, of course, is to help improve your conversion rate. And in actual fact, I'm going to do a whole episode all about improving the conversion rate of your website. But, being able to make more money, more profit, if we call that out, it comes down to retaining customers. And here is another, I think, a couple of areas that I think a lot of brands kind of neglect. Number one is three metrics that I think everybody really needs to tackle in 2024 is their conversion rate, their average order value, and also their customer retention rate, the returning customer rate. Because if you can improve all of those, you will make more money and you'll keep more of it as well. So the returning customer rate really relies on having new things to sell to your customers. Sometimes it's more of the same. During the Black Friday promo, I definitely stocked up on some skincare that I had run out of. It won't matter if that brand never brings out a new product. I'll keep purchasing that particular product because it's amazing. So sometimes, people do just buy more of the same, but in reality, being able to, entice customers back to purchase again and again, it does. And the longer you are in business, the bigger this imperative is. You need to have new things to sell to them. And again, if I, give a shout out to You by Kate, love you guys. They do an amazing job of this. They've been in business for over 20 years now. And so, they've cultivated an amazing community of raving fans. I would say in a very Aussie way, they're rusted on customers. They aren't going anywhere. They always come back again and again, but they're only doing that because there's something new quite frequently. So, having something new could be, perhaps a limited edition print. That was always the cloth nappy way of doing things in my first business. We would do new releases of prints and colors, and sometimes they would be limited edition ones. So once once they're sold out, they're gone forever. And sometimes it is a whole new product as well. So something that's going to hopefully complement the rest of your range, or, that people might use at the same time as your existing products, or that they might help extend their lifetime as a customer of yours. So if I think back to my first business, Modern Cloth Nappy brand, we did things like start releasing obviously we started with the actual nappy products, or diapers as some people call them. And then we started adding some accessory products. So we had liners and wipes and wet bags, and we went into laundry detergent and sanitizing spray, and I can't remember what else, but then we went into a few products for women. So like reusable breastfeeding pads and things like that. And then we also went into products for like swimming nappies, and then for toddlers, training pads, so extending the lifetime of the customer that way. So that's one way to do it. Another way, if I think about skincare or makeup, but if you say, for example, the skincare product that I was waiting to buy was a particular facial oil, shout out to Tanya from Indigare, has beautiful products, but her core product that she started with was a face oil product. And most women, I think probably most women my age anyway, probably are using more than one product in their skincare routine. And so if you start to add to that range, you'll ultimately end up with customers who are repeat purchasing multiple products at a time. And so that way your average order value goes up, your customer lifetime value goes up as well. and ultimately your profit margins go up. It's going to cost you a bit of money to acquire that customer in the first place. You need to be able to find ways to retain them and encourage those repeat purchases. So really that kind of product innovation is going to be where you can increase your margins and therefore, continue to grow into the new year. So really, really nailing those strategies to keep growing your top line revenue through acquiring new customers and doing so, as profitably as possible by focusing on those 3 metrics: your conversion rate, your average order value, and your returning customer rate. And then in the lower months, don't stop advertising. Just change the strategy up so that you can manage it in the leaner times, but make sure that you are always building your audience. Not just on socials. You've got to be getting them into your database so that you actually own that audience as well. As a side note, I do need to also give a little bit of a shout out to Klaviyo here as the platform that, really, really helps to drive this kind of profitable growth long term. None of us are going to thrive using Klaviyo if we aren't also getting traffic to our website. So all of these strategies that I'm talking about here do require paid traffic to be able to scale. All traffic's good traffic. I love working on SEO as well because, the more free traffic that you can get, the better. And of course, when you do work on that kind of content that goes on your website that's optimized for search engines, you have such a long-term value from that content. That content will always keep driving you traffic, whereas content on your social media is very short-lived, right? It's important because it helps to attract and cultivate that warm audience, but then you need to get them to your website. Paid traffic's the most efficient way to get them there. And obviously organic search traffic is super profitable traffic. If it's just going to take you a lot longer to get that cranking. So having that kind of holistic system to get the traffic there, but Klaviyo is really this backbone of a system that's going to help you to convert them more profitably, increasing your conversion rate, by using some of the flows in there. Realistically, how can you grow your list as quickly as possible? You have to have a really great list building offer. And the emails that go out. That doesn't mean that it has to be a big discount, by the way. It just has to be the right offer for your audience and, be super relevant to your first-time customers. And then the right kind of follow-up emails and SMSs to get them over the line with the first purchase. There's a couple of other flows that really help there as well. And then post-purchase, how are you going to get people back to buy again? It's going to be a different content strategy for those flows depending on what you sell and, whether, because different products have different reasons to repurchase. Skincare is very different from lunchboxes, for example. But so very necessary to have this kind of system in play. We're actually able to, we have some modeling tools for the traffic and conversion rates and your Klaviyo output, flows and campaigns. We have some really amazing modeling tools that we can literally plug some figures in from your business and, show you very closely what you are likely to achieve in terms of revenue out the other end. So if you have never done that kind of an exercise with us before, then absolutely jump on a free strategy call with us. You can book that in. There's still a few spaces left this side of Christmas. So if you are looking ahead to 2024 and really want to have a less, hustle last minute kind of year as this year. I know a few people who started working with us recently, they're excited by that prospect of not feeling like they're on the back foot all the time. So if that's what you're looking forward to for 2024 and you'd like to do that exercise with us, then go ahead and book in for a free strategy session. We'll include the link in the podcast show notes page, but essentially you just go to productpreneurmarketing.com/let's-talk. So we will include that link in the show notes for this episode. Anyway, I hope you've really enjoyed that. I really wanted to just jump on and have this conversation about what this year has been like and what that means for 2024 and what you need to be doing in order to profit and thrive in the next year. Hopefully, many of you will be able to do that, and I'm excited for it. Next week on the show, I'm going to be doing an episode about how to optimize your website for conversions. That sounds super boring, but I'm going to make it fun, don't worry, and it will be very tangible and useful. So I look forward to all of you tuning in for that one as well. But have a great rest of the day, rest of the week for now, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.